Donkey Kong Bonanza is peak. Are you even surprised? From the moment this game was revealed, everyone had a feeling this game would be a masterpiece. And it is! The graphics are stunning, the gameplay is very revolutionary, the music is unbelievably catchy, and it has a surprising but welcome amount of character development! But it wasn't all about the game itself that got people hyped. A new trio of villains, who are the topic of today's video, also contributed to the hype. I, of course, am talking about Voidco. Consisting of Void Kong, the president of the company and the main antagonist, Grumpy Kong, the head of manufacturing and the creator of most enemies in the game, and Poppy Kong, the head of intelligence and the one everyone has a crush on. However, there is more to them that meets the eye, and today, we're gonna go through why that is. I will be going over each member of Voidco individually in the order you first fight them. Grumpy, Poppy, and then Void, and discussing everything we know about them and why they are the best Nintendo villains in recent memory. Oh, spoilers for the game, by the way. Let's start with the grump of the bunch himself. Like I mentioned earlier, Grumpy Kong is the lead miner and head of manufacturing at Voidco. As his name implies, he is incredibly grumpy. A snake in the Radiance layer mentions Grumpy what? A snake in the Radiance layer mentions Grumpy was mumbling to himself about how he'd beat DK and Pauline once and for all, while on his way to the boss arena to fight him in. And in the post-game, where he's an ally, he really wants to emphasize how he doesn't appreciate people who don't like his construction work. Like, seriously, take a joke out. His design also reflects his personality perfectly. The red fur works really well, especially with how the color is most accompanied with anger and rage. The tiny little mining hat, yellow jacket, and banana-colored pickaxe also help sell the head of manufacturing, and his size compared to DK helps him make look more intimidating than he already is. Especially when fighting him when he's riding his giant King Crocoid. But don't let his grumpiness fool you. Underneath that rock, tough exterior, he's a bit of a softie. Grumpy takes a lot of time and care to build his creations, and it's also confirmed his construction work is what made him happy when he was working for the Void Company. In this piece of key art, you can see Grumpy with a softer expression on his face while caring for Abracadabra, which goes to show he takes great care for all of his creations. It also makes you wonder if Grumpy also has a hobby of gardening. He also has a sense of honor and respect to DK and Pauline, saying how the two are not that bad after beating Pika Bruiser, and even building a golden statue of DK if you pay him enough gold. There's also a pretty decent chance that in the post-game, Grumpy built the Warp Gong and Ingot Isle specifically so Pauline and DK could reunite one day. Just goes to show how nice a grumpy person can be under the right conditions. Just like Poppy Kong, Grumpy chooses to quit his job after you beat him for the second time. Technically fourth if you count the Pika Bruiser fights. However, this is off-screen, and you only find out either in post-game or asking Poppy about him. And yeah, that's about all I can think of when it comes to Grumpy. He's definitely the most basic, but that doesn't mean he's a bad character. Now, let's move on to the smartest of the bunch. Poppy Kong has a lot more to talk about compared to Grumpy, excluding the passionate fan base. She's the head of intelligence at Voidco, which means she gathers all the information Voidco needs for one of their operations. She's also the smartest out of all the Voidco members, but yet again there's not much competition. She is also very condescending and thinks of herself above most other people. This is especially the case whenever she calls DK darling. Just like Grumpy Kong, Poppy Kong's design perfectly encapsulates who she is and what her job is. She wears a pair of glasses that fit with her whole most intelligent trait, and she's tall yet slender, so she's taller than DK and thus aids in her condescendingness. She also wears these fancy sleeves and pants, which give her a rich yet regal-like appearance. I swear to the Bananium Root, if I see hear me out in the comments once, I will block you! But just like Grumpy, there's more to Poppy than just what I mentioned earlier. It's made abundantly clear Poppy hates her job and her boss. Starting with the sneer she gives Void in their introduction, to the fact she just gives up after you beat her, to even insisting DK and Pauline go and kick Void's tail. Doesn't help she has to do all this paperwork! It all comes to a head when you beat her in the Radiance Lair, and she just quits. She's done. She gives up. She resigns from Voidco and anything to do with it. After you leave her in the boss arena, she basically decides to do whatever she wants now. Until the Harmonial shows up. After the Harmonial sweeps her up during a possessed rampage, she decides to aid DK in getting Pauline back, who was swallowed by the aforementioned Harmonial. She helps you locate the Terra Voiders needed to play the Layer's melody, and summon the Harmonial in the process. She then gives you a barrel which is needed to rescue Pauline. However, before you leave to save Pauline, Poppy asks if you need anything else. And if you choose to ask her to go with DK, she at first acts sarcastically and condescending as usual, but thinks for another second, and realizes it would be nice to have a friend. She explains she feels this way because she's envious of how well DK and Pauline get along. Maybe at one point, Poppy did actually have some friends, but she had to leave them behind to join Voidco. Heck, there's even a piece of key art of Poppy Kong and Pauline bonding, which is the cutest thing in this game by far. Poppy shows care and empathy towards our main duo, especially if you choose that dialogue option. Even if she doesn't actually join you on your quest, she still does more bonding with Pauline and DK in the post-game. And she wants to enslave Void Kong. Honestly, I wouldn't mind. Void's a bitch. Oh, speaking of, I think it's time we talk about the leader of the bunch himself. Yes, ladies and gentlemen, it is finally time to talk about Void Kong! And oh boy, is there a lot to talk about. Just from his design, you can tell who Void is, what he's like, and that there is no redeeming this little gremlin. Although he is the smallest fully grown Kong we've seen in the franchise, he still feels like one of the most intimidating. From his flashy appearance, showing just how rich he is, his sharp golden teeth, his sharp claws, his bloodshot eyes, his magical banana phone, he is basically the Donkey Kong equivalent to Madame Claw with the Knife of Creation. His design literally screams, "I'm rich and I'm a bitch!" And that's exactly who he is. Speaking of screaming, it's also interesting to note how it sometimes sounds like Voidco and the other NPCs in the game have their own language. Take a listen to how some sounds play when certain words or names are mentioned, and you'll see what I mean.
남들 보리? 여기 보리?
Anyways, back on track. From the moment he shows up, it's immediately established who he is. He's basically the manifestation of 6 of the 7 deadly sins. His greed is the most prominent one. He'll steal all of the bananas from one layer just to power up his drill to get to the planet's core. He's lazy and will just sit on his flying banana-shaped structure while all his lackeys do all the dirty work. He's envious of DK and Pauline when they're about to make their wish at the banana root, so lets out a last wrath-filled last resort to stop them. And although he's not physically gluttonous, he's more so metaphorically gluttonous, always wanting more and more than what he already has. And that's not to mention his pride. He views himself above everyone else and gets defensive when one dares to object to his mighty status as president. Honestly, with how horrible he is, let's just be glad he isn't lustful, Jesus Christ. Back to his design, his primary colors, black and purple, also solidify the whole prideful idea. Purple is the main representative color of pride, and black is the most commonly associated with darkness or evil. Sure, Poppy had blackish fur, but the white clothing helps show she was on both sides of the yin and yang. Heck, Void is so unapologetically evil that he has Grumpy kidnap a child just to awaken something to get infinite gold! Infinite gold! Doesn't that kind of ruin the whole value of gold? However, that's off-screen. His first in-game action is him drilling the entire ingot aisle into the ground! I could stop there, but let's keep going! We then see him when we're about to leave the Lagoon Lair, where his offer to Pauline to join him was rejected. He gets pissed, so he tells Grumpy to bring the brats to me! We all know where this goes. His next appearance is in the Junction, where he immediately dips after DK and Pauline show up. You chase him down to the hilltop lair, and now it's finally time to talk about Void's boss fights. To put it simply, they're chaos incarnate. He flies around the lair, constantly spawning different types of terrain, from slippery ice to speed-slowing mud, heck to even lava. He'll spawn any terrain to stop you in your tracks. And in his fight in the Junction, he'll even send giant pillars made of either stone, poison, or lava, shooting quickly towards you. After a certain amount of time, he'll set up a shield you have to deactivate by destroying the Terra Voiders keeping the shield active. However, that doesn't stop DK from giving Void the beating of a lifetime. And that didn't stop Void from being a bitch. After he activates his drill, it finally seems like he's going to reveal why he wants Pauline. But he pulls the classic one and just flat out lies to our faces simply because he knows Pauline will believe him since she's only a child. Although he doesn't show up until the feast lair, you can still feel his presence with all the Terra Voiders set up in each lair, the terrain being made of the indestructible voided terrain, and the bosses either being mind-controlled or actual members of Voidco. When he does show up again, he literally fires everyone and ruins a giant burger. Void must die. Then, he shows up for the final time, for now, in the planet's core, where he reveals the Banandium root is in a slumber of sorts, and only Pauline's singing can wake it up. That's right! Pauline's special power is singing and awakening a biblically accurate banana. Yeah, I mean, it fits. After Void gets his tail handed to him again, and DK and Pauline approach the root, he does what is debatably his most heinous action. Something not even most of, if not every other DK villain before him was able to do. He wins. Of course, as we know, things don't entirely work out for him. Pauline joins DK, they beat Void Kong into the sun, and they make their wish and go back to the surface and get more bananas. In the post-game, Poppy reveals that Void got stuck in one of the pipes in the drill that he was using to dig down to the planet's core. Grumpy decided to free him, and Void just ran off. Probably into Mario Kart World or something. And with that, this video will now come to a close. I hope you all enjoyed it, and now see why Void Kong are the best villains in Nintendo history. And I'll see you in the next one. Have a great day, afternoon, or night, depends on when you're watching this video.